Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Voicing Artists' Original Characters. We have a fun one today. That's right, you know it. It's my favorite thing on this entire planet, a villain. Woo! Yes! We get to play with a villain today, so let's jump right into it because it's my favorite thing ever. Hell yeah! So, our artist of the day is named RoseOak, pronoun she, her. The character that she's letting us play with is Erallisto. This character is a magic mantis lady. A magic praying mantis villain lady of RoseOak's own story, Spellbound. And the last image in here is of her shifted mantis form. So her in a full praying mantis form, which I do have a voice note for that says she's very monstrous when in that form. Now, regardless of her being in that form or not, the praying mantis idea is very clear in all of the rest of these drawings. It is very prominent in the legs, for one, like these big old things that you might think are shoes are just gigantic, spiky, spiny, pointy, praying mantis legs. And then the horns that are coming out of her head and all of like the very pointy diamond spikes all over her. She's very clearly like, I am going to kill you, villain. Praying mantis evil, like bug, intimidating, bleh, makes you shiver and be like, okay, I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. So, what are some personality traits? Well, I have two from the artists, and they're both beautiful villain traits. The first one is power hungry. Great. Fabulous. You can see that she's power hungry, especially in these images where she's fighting this other character. The one where she's pushing her hands back and the one where she's pulling something out of her chest like that. Clearly very power hungry and not removed to the point where she's not willing to get into the battle, because she'll get into the battle to get what she wants. And the other word the artist gave me is unhinged. Woo! We love playing with quote-unquote crazy characters. Unhinged is a great way of saying basically we'll do anything and everything to get what she wants. And those characters are so much fun to play with, especially in villain form, because that's usually what they come in. And I'm so excited to play with Erallisto here. So let me give you some adjectives, some personality things that I pick up from the drawings. Some words that I pick up are elegant and majestic. She has this big long cape going with her. Even in her mantis form, she still has the big skirt / cape. She's got this beautiful bodice piece in the one where she's standing with her hands out. She got this gorgeous long sort of hair piece as well with like diamonds and things in it, a really pretty necklace. This gives me an elegance, a majesty, almost of nobility, almost of royalty, like she's a queen or a princess or a figurehead. That said, the one thing that I don't think she has that comes with that sort of idea of being royalty and being majestic is she doesn't have the removed aspect of being in the fight and in the battle. Often our royalty, our noble figures are the people who are like, yes, let my soldiers fight, right? Like I run the army, I don't step in the army. Like I don't actually get on the horse and use the sword and use the magic. I just watch other people do it and I put on the crown. She is not that, right? We got power hungry, we got unhinged, and we got her very clearly fighting someone in two full drawings. So that part is not there. I think the royalty and the majesty comes more as something that she puts on as an air. It's in her energy. Yes, it's in her clothing, but she has the majesty in the way that she projects herself, and the clothing just add to it. So where does that majesty come from in her personality to the point where it's projecting itself onto her, even though she doesn't have some of those other traits? I think it comes from arrogance, from ego or hubris. Every stance she's in is leaning on her hip in the one, or pushing forward in another, or going straight into battle, right? Fighting hand with hand. All of these things are very confident. She's got huge smiles on her face, evil grins. Her hands are out there and forceful. She has huge arrogance, huge ego in her ability to do, to be, to have everything and anything she wants. And that arrogance, that ego, comes with the idea of the royalty and the nobility and the elegance. It's not always there, but often it comes with the idea of being a queen, being in charge. And so I think that's where her majesty comes from, rather than having majesty and then ego coming from that. She has ego, and majesty comes from the ego. So those I would associate together. And then she definitely has some sort of like superiority complex, condescending, sees people as below her. You can see it in her smile, in her eyes. And speaking of her eyes, I think these are powerful indicators for this character. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's look at some of these in particular. I think the main one we want to look at for her eyes is this sketch of her. Now, we don't have color in this one, so you might be thinking, oh, well, it's just eyeballs. So, like, why are we looking at this photo? It's a line art drawing. But I think this one screams what I'm trying to get at. Just take a look at this facial expression. Look at her eyebrows. Look at how wide her mouth is, how big her smile is, how open her eyes are, how high and prominent her eyebrows are, how she's still looking down to someone. And yet her head is held high and forwards, and her shoulders are back, and her chest is forward. And she has this arrogance, right? But in her eyes is this bite. It's this passion. It's these spikes that you see all over her body in a physical form. It is a vigor. It is a fervor. It is passion, but in a volatile way. Like she's gonna engulf the entire world in flames. Like she's gonna watch everything burn just because she can. There is this really, really sincere form of enjoyment and pleasure in her eyes in every one of these drawings, not just this sketch. If we look at some of the other ones here, let's look at this battle photo. You see how wide her eyes are looking at this other individual, how huge her smile is? These eyes are pointed, they're directed, they're directly at the force that she is facing in this beautiful engagement of like, yes, fight me. Let me watch you as you're destroyed. Let me use my actual hands to destroy you at that. Every single one of these drawings, in my opinion, has it in her eyes. Eyes are often where I see this trait come out. It's in other features. We've talked about her smile. We've talked about her body posture. But for me, eyes are so important. They are windows to the soul, as many people will say. And just every single one of these drawings, every single one gives that spite, that anger, that pure, elated, I am going to burn down this whole world because I can. Because no one can stop me, and in fact, I hope somebody tries. It's all in there. And the reason why I describe it this way, and I don't just say, oh, they give me very passionate, is because passionate, we often have a positive association with. Because when you're passionate about something, you enjoy it, you love it, you really put your heart and soul into it, you work hard to accomplish it, and it's clear. And so that is all true of Erallisto. I see that in her eyes. I see the passion, the determination. But because that's such a positive connotation, I'm adding all this context in the ideas of burning things and engulfing things and destroying things and the lust that comes from being powerful and in charge. I'm adding all of this context to it so that we recognize that this trait can happen in a villain and how that passion gets mangled and molded and squeezed and tormented into something completely different and new, mutated, if you will, into a whole new feeling that's indescribable. And so we want to try and put ourselves into that place, and that's one of the reasons I love villains. So just a little bit of insight into the way that I view things and how I give myself better context when I go to play these characters. So I'm not just doing a smiley, passionate person, I'm doing a smiley, passionate villain. So with all of that said, let's go into a neutral line. So I'm going to keep her neutral in a state of where she is in charge, she's in power. She's not overly crazy at the moment, causing horrible mischief. She's not necessarily looking down on someone, but she's more like showing people the ego. She's letting the ego flag fly a little bit, being a little bit open with her accomplishments and how she sees the world and everything under her. So let's go with the idea that maybe someone has come to her castle or her kingdom and she's sort of welcoming them to the premises and being like, look at what I have. Enjoy your stay, right? I'm in charge and you can't cross me, but also enjoy, like you're not hindering me at the moment. I want something out of you and there's still a possibility of getting something out of you. So she's welcoming someone to the kingdom. That's the one we're going to go with, where she's sort of got this staff and she's got a nicer smile to where when you meet her, you might go, okay, she looks a little scary, but she's welcoming us into this kingdom. And then when she starts talking, you're like, okay, she's gonna kill us type of energy. So let's see if we can do that. Welcome to my kingdom. You will find we have the utmost amenities for your pleasure. A lovely garden if you are a fan of flowers. I know I find it to be quite lovely in the springtime. I do hope you will join me for dinner, as we have quite the matters to be discussed. But until then, enjoy your stay. Yes. I love the arrogance, the confidence, I'm such a gracious host. Look at all these things I have. Look at my castle. Go sit in my garden. Like, you're looking down on them and you are like, oh, you're little peasants that have come to give me what I want. And then at the same time, you're still kind of being nice about it. Because you're villains. You could walk in and be like, give me what I want. I could have sent you straight to the dungeons, could have tortured you, got my deals, whatever. But she's literally welcoming people in as like, welcome, just to show off. Just to have the arrogance, the pride, the enjoyment out of making these people look at what she has. And then giving a little bit of like but you better show up for dinner. Because if you don't, I'm gonna kill you, right? Like, I love it. Love it. She doesn't need to be intimidating. She doesn't need to torture them. She doesn't need to put them in prison, doesn't need to kill them, because she has so much confidence and so much arrogance and hubris in who she is that they can walk around freely and be guests. Go ahead and try something, I dare you. It's great. So that's her neutral. Let's put her into the happy state. I think happy state, because she's so power hungry, because she's unhinged, is when she finally gets what she wants. And we're going to play with this battle image of her yanking some sort of glowing energy out of this other character. And we're going to play with the idea that this is what she's been after for so long and she finally has it. And now she can take over the world or rule whatever, or be whatever. She's got it in her hands and in her grasp. And we're going to go with that kind of happiness. So let's see what we get here. Ugh. Finally. It's mine. It is all mine. There is nothing any fool can do to stand in my way. What havoc I shall rain. Yes, let's go. Oh, I love that for Erallisto. It's this beautiful, victorious moment of finally I have everything and no one can do anything about it. And she just takes this big, deep breath and is like, now I can just cause so much destruction and revel in it. Oh, I love villains. So much fun to play with that as a happy. Now, let's do even more fun. Let's go into angry. Let's get our angry on here. I think for our angry, we go into our praying mantis monster form. So, they said monstrous voice for when she goes into sort of this praying mantis beast. We've done a monstrous voice before, but this is going to be an angry emotion. So I think we go more monstrous in the emotional side than we do in the vocal side. But we'll see what we can do. Let's play around with it a bit. I think she would be angry when she realizes she's lost, right? Like her plan has not gone her way. Someone else has, probably the hero, maybe the person she's fighting against, has maybe dethroned her, taken away her pride, taken away her ego. They've beaten her at her own game. That would make her so furious. So let's try that. No! That is mine! I will tear your head off, bite your limbs from your body. Give it to me! Oh! We got that monstrous voice in there! Let's go! That was pure rage! I took a little bit of that praying mantis energy where they bite the heads off of the characters that they mate with and stuff. So I wanted to take that in there and throw it in there. We got a weird, scraggly, throaty voice. Woo! That was monster energy for sure. And it was pure rage of like, I'm gonna destroy you and everything you are. Love it, love it, love it, love it. All right, now let's go into sadness. Now I'm gonna jump straight into this line because I've got an idea in my head and I wanna go full force with it. I'll explain it afterwards. So here we go. Everything I've ever worked for, you've destroyed it all. What have you done? Give it back to me! Give it back! Ooh, I love that. That's a really good, like, strained, yelly sadness, desperation sadness. The idea that I was going with was the hero wins, right? Saves the day, fixes things, or destroys the evil thing that she was trying to get so no one can have it. Her sadness comes from, like, you've taken away my entire goal. I've been working so hard for this, right? She sees it as like, that was the one thing I wanted and I need it, and you destroyed it, right? It's not just that the hero won, it's that the hero destroyed whatever she needed to take over the world or do her evil bidding. So she's like desperate over it. She's like, oh my God, like I'm torn to pieces. You essentially broke me. And that's where I was coming from. And I love that because villain sadness is a bit of rage, but it's a lot of desperation. It's a lot of disbelief. It's like you start the grief process right there with you start with doubt. You're like, doubt, press X to doubt, okay? Cannot have just happened because you were supposed to win. You were supposed to be victorious. And now everything you've ever wanted and dreamed of is in shambles, crumbled on the floor. So you're just like, no, this can't be happening. And that's their form of sadness. And I love it. All right, now it has been lovely playing with this character today, but there is still some time for this video left, and we're gonna make some creature noises. Y'all know me, I cannot resist doing weird-ass noises for any creature I can get my hands on, so let's do some for Erallisto here. So, for those who may not know, praying mantises do make a certain kind of sound. Now, when I first looked up a praying mantis's sound, I thought it was going to sound something like a grasshopper or a cricket. But what I found when I looked it up is that praying mantises actually make more of a shaking noise, as if you put a bunch of coins in a bag and you shook them around a little bit. They make almost the sound a maraca makes in a band. Very repetitive, very asynchronized tapping or shaking noises is kind of what a praying mantis sounds like. So that's what I'm going to try and emulate. Now, the key part about this is we're not just going to make that sound. We're also going to do it with dialogue. So we're going to add that sound into when they're speaking. And the way that I picture this is that maybe they get angry, so their praying mantis energy starts coming out. Maybe they're almost like mid-transform or something like that. We are going to make the voice a bit of that like whispery, sort of very high-pitched, almost like a snake sound. And maybe the part of her that is making this noise from a visual sense is her antenna rubbing together, or whatever a praying mantis actually uses to make this sound is like slowly evolving or slowly moving or like really antsily rubbing together really fast like grasshoppers and crickets do with their legs to make the chirping. So regardless of where the sound may be coming from a character's point of view, we're going to do it from our mouths, from ourselves, while talking. So let's do it.
Not if I have anything to say about it.
Ooh! I love that. You could hear almost, they kind of sound like raindrops, but there's very furious, like tip-tapping and shaky noises that are going on, combined with sort of the whisper, snake-like voice, makes it very creature, makes it very scary, makes it very ominous, and I love that idea of the inner praying mantis creature villain is coming out and like righteous with fury. So thank you, everyone, for joining me for that creature time. You know I had to do it. Couldn't pass up the opportunity. All right, so that is everything that we are going to do with Erallisto here today. So thank you to RoseOak for letting us play with her. Remember, go follow our artists, everyone. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you to our artists for letting me play with a villain, our favorite thing to do. And I will see you next time when we do another character. Goodbye!